By 2020, Chennai will be bone dry. By 2022, Chennai was floating. Before, when we used to go to buy a flat, we'll say, Thanni kadikuma, Thanni kadikuma, water. Now you say, Thanni nikkuma, Thanni nikkuma. Almost all life form excretes liquid separately and solid separately. Urine is urea. It is a sterilized material coming out of your kidney. When you collect urine for your sample or anything, no smell, nothing. It is only when the urine comes out and is exposed to air and water that ammonia is released and you get the smell. It's an alternate style of architecture which does not use cement or steel. Have you heard of a building without cement or steel? Not yet. This is one. Here we use what is called laterite interlocking bricks. Have you heard of the Brihadeshwara temple? Have you heard of the Grand Anaikat, the great dam that was built across the Kaveri? It is more than 1,000 years old, that dam. I was collected in that area. Not a drop of water comes through that dam. Today you construct dams, you don't know when it will fall down. This is from the waste leaves that are collected here, a little bit of water and a little bit of cow dung. 40 days decomposes and generates methane gas. That gas I collect and use as a fuel. Now another thing is I have linked the toilet. Septic tanks produce gas. People get inside it to clean the septic tanks and die because they inhale that poisonous gas. That gas is also connected to this. A little honeybee is more superior than you. If the honeybees are extinct from the planet, in 7 days the planet will die. The planet will perish. If you and I die, the planet will flourish. The water purification industry feeds on your paranoia that water is dirty, dirty, dirty. See, large number of people in rural areas, I was promoting menstrual pads at an earlier time. Then I found, they throw menstrual pads all over the village and dogs are taking it and running around. Then it is such a horrible thing to happen. In the olden days, they were called the coarse grains, while the rice and wheat and all were called the fine grains. So I used to call it the politics of grains. And also they were the poor man's grains. They were on rain-fed lands, lands which were not rich lands, not Kaveri-fed lands. They were the poor man's crops, and it so happens that they are full of nutrients. The ragi, kamba, if you take in the Hindi word jawar, bajra, all these are highly nutritious grains. And they were the poor people's food. Over a period of time, we started giving more and more rice and wheat in the public distribution system, which is the ration shop. Today, we are the diabetic capital of the world. We have got the diabetes even in rural areas where people were never having diabetes 20 years ago, because diabetes is a lifestyle disease. So, lifestyle diseases are contributing to cancer, diabetes and all these kinds of things, because the kind of food you eat and the kind of lifestyles you live. Fortunately, I went 60 feet down and there was zero water. I got zero water. I thought I will die of a heart attack because I paid 25,000 rupees to the man and got zero water. And I thought if it's a poor farmer with just 10-20 cents of land and he puts all his hard-earned savings into a borewell and gets nothing out of it, what will he do? He'll be desperate. I have got some money to fall back on. What will he do? He'll commit suicide. He'll do something desperate. The first thing that we did was we took the lie of the land and saw that water from the east flows westward. There's a lake behind, so water flows this way, in this direction. So normally in all urban lands, if you have a property which is below the road level, you raise the property to the road level, because you think you have to be along the road. So when you have the lie of the land left as it is, the water drains into your property. So first thing is no water at the entrance of your property. And if it is coming in, it is going into your property. If it is going into your property, it cannot but do good. It may stagnate for a while, but it will recharge the groundwater in your property. Now the best way to make sure that it recharges naturally and very well is to plant trees. Okay, I put these plants here. None of this was here except that big jamun tree. Nothing was here. This was just open land. They were all 5 feet, 10 feet high sapling. Now they've gone 40 feet. You can see how big they have grown. They are all competing, and I lost a lot in the last cyclone, but even then you can see the canopy that has come. As the trees grew, what happened? The birds came. The birds came, the moths came, the butterflies came, the dragonflies came, and all their droppings fell on this. And so it became an excellent fertilizer for the trees. See, it's an ecosystem where one is feeding into the other. By creating a tiny forest space like that, you are encouraging many life forms. I have 2 or 3 themes. One is sustainable development, the other is sustainable agriculture, third is sustainable lifestyles, and fourth is sustainable livelihoods. You know the difference? Lifestyle is the way you live your life. Livelihood is earning opportunities. What professions do you do? What kind of wages, what kind of incomes can you generate by a sustainable environment? So these are the 4 things that I like to convey to all people here, and also that I promote, including livelihoods. It's an alternate style of architecture which does not use cement or steel. Have you heard of a building without cement or steel? Not yet. Okay, this is one. Here we use what is called laterite interlocking bricks. Okay, laterite is a kind of soil which you make into a mud block and put grooves in it, and then you don't need cement or steel. So these bricks are brought together without cement and steel, they are interlocking. Now this kind of construction was what was done by the Cholas. Have you heard of the Brihadeshwara temple? Have you heard of the Grand Anaikat, the great dam that was built across the Kaveri? It is more than 1000 years old, that dam. I was collected in that area. Not a drop of water comes through that dam. Today you construct dams, you don't know when it will fall down. 1000 years it has stood, and it is this building technology that they use. They did not have cement or steel. Point number 2, these are climate resilient in the sense that you can come inside and see, I don't put even a fan, forget an air conditioner, not even a fan, because cement and steel radiate heat. They absorb heat and they radiate it. In a cold time, if any of you have lived in Delhi, you know how cold your houses are in Delhi in winter, isn't it? It's terrible because the building material absorbs the outside temperature and intensifies it. If it's hot, it will make it hotter. If it is cool, it will make it colder. But these building materials are insulating. They do not absorb the outside temperature. So they are very comfortable living spaces. They are also much cheaper. You can go inside and see how cool it feels. Okay, now all the furniture here is recycled. I have not bought anything new. My intention is to show how nothing need be a waste. See, this is a biogas. You know, you have heard of biogas? Okay, this is from the waste leaves that are collected here, a little bit of water and a little bit of cow dung. 40 days it decomposes and generates methane gas. That gas I collect and use as a fuel. This is free from the waste that is lying around in your property. Okay, 1000 rupees one cylinder. Each of you are in your houses, you may be using 1 or 2 cylinders minimum. At least 50% of your gas need, even there are small units like this which you can put in your kitchen. Kitchen waste can be converted into gas. So what is this? This is sustainable energy. Your gas which comes out of LPG is most unsustainable. It is liquid petroleum gas, LPG. It comes as a petroleum product, highly polluting, highly dangerous, and highly damaging to the planet. This is a much friendlier option. Yesterday we did this. This is a hay oven. Now after we cook something, when it is halfway cooked, we just collect a little hay and put it in a pot and keep it inside the hay. The rest 30-40% of the cooking it will do by itself. All food which is cooked slowly tastes nicer than fast cooking. All your fast food is rubbish food. but slow cooking, slowly done, nicely done is a much healthier food because it retains the nutrients and it's a much tastier food. It's good for the palate. So it's a simple thing. I bought this terracotta pot in one Sunday and we put rice, we cook rice half, let us say, and keep it in that. The heat, it retains the heat. By lunchtime, you will have nicely cooked rice and you have saved so much on the gas. Now another thing is I have linked the toilet. You know toilets have septic tanks produce gas, people get inside it to clean the septic tanks and die because you know they inhale that poisonous gas. That gas is also connected to this. So when you open your septic tank, there is no need to open because there will be no problem because the gas is being let out, is being used. So this is a toilet linked biogas unit. This is a very good thing to do, especially in big apartments and all. It may be a little difficult, but you can still do it. But definitely if you have a house, if you have an independent house or in a rural area, you can connect your toilet waste or septic tank and the gas it generates to your biogas unit and use all this waste most productively. The single important point I want to tell you, and I will say it again and again, nature has no waste. There is no waste in nature. You and I may be waste, but nature has no waste. In all our religion, not only religions, all these things, they put man on the top of the list, isn't it? That you know God created you in His image. I don't know. Did you ask God? I don't know if you are really created in His image, and that you own the planet and you are the owners of the land. We have been told all these things and made to believe that the human is the superior life in the planet. A little honeybee is more superior than you. If the honeybees are extinct from the planet, in 7 days the planet will die. The planet will perish. If you and I die, the planet will flourish. 2004. Tsunami relief operations in ground zero near Nagapattinam. There is a huge deer reserve there. There is a reserve where deers are there. There were more than 10,000 people lying dead around me. 10,000 people. I went to the deer reserve. Not one deer is dead. Not one deer is dead. It is just on the beach. And the forest guard said he was standing on the machan and watching. Half an hour before the waves came, the deer ran inside. They were able to sense the danger that you and I idiots cannot. What I am saying is you think you are intelligent. I think the deer was far more intelligent. It saved itself. You understand my point? All of us are born under a star, you know that. Each star, did you know, has a tree? No. So these are the 28 trees that we have put here. In English and in Tamil, we have the name of the tree and the name of your star. So this is very exciting for all the children when they see that this is my tree, this is my mom's tree, this is my dad's tree, this is my uncle's tree, this is my friend's tree. All of us have a tree. You didn't know that. Now I'll just tell you a few stories about trees. You've heard of the Chipko movement? You have? Great, wonderful. Now the Chipko movement was a movement where women in the state of Himachal Pradesh hugged trees and prevented them from being cut. And it was such an important movement in the history of the environment conservation efforts of India that a law was passed that trees should be protected and should not be cut. After the women's movement called the Chipko movement in the 1960s and 70s, by a great man called Bahuguna, who was the leader of that movement. You will see pictures of those women, they all went and hugged the trees and prevented it from cut. But there is an even more interesting story which is more than 400 years old. This Khejri tree was to be cut by some contractor who had instructions for cutting the tree, for making a brick kiln for the firing the bricks of the palace which was going to be constructed. So he came to cut the tree, and a woman, elderly person called Nirmala Devi, she went and said, "You can't cut this tree, it is important to us, it is like our family, you can't cut the tree." They said, "No, it is the king's order, we will cut the tree." She said, "You cut me, you can't cut the tree." They cut her. Her two daughters came to save her. They cut them also. 323 people of the village came, they were all slaughtered. This is a true story. And then the message went to the king that, people are giving their lives for the tree. Today you hear anything like that? Nowhere near it. You cut the tree, you take the life of the tree. People are not giving their lives for the tree. And then the Maharaja said, stop it. We must save the tree and honor these people that they have looked after. Today, the National Biodiversity Award of India is named after Nirmala Devi. It is called the Nirmala Devi Biodiversity Award. We remember her with pride as a woman, as a conservationist, as a person who protected the tree. The Khejri is a well-loved tree and thriving in Rajasthan. So this is what humans can do for the environment. Here, I just want to share with you some things which are very personal and very dear to me. I told you I was in the water sector, so I was very fascinated by water and what it does every place. So as an IAS officer, I had opportunity to visit many parts of the world, many parts of the country. But from 50 years, I have been collecting water from the oceans of the world. That is the Pacific, the South Atlantic, North Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, Bosphorus, Cape Town. I have Pamba, Holy Ganga. This is glacier water from Japan. I have the Indus River, the Ganga from 4 or 5 locations where all the tirths are. I have water from the Niagara. I have water from Ladakh, from Zanskar, from the Indus. So this is my most precious collection, more precious than anything you can imagine. Nobody is thieving it. All the water looks alike. It is true. But when you go to those oceans, each ocean has a character of its own. So though the waters look alike, each has a different character. You go into the Himalayas, you see the Alaknanda, you see the Bhagirathi, each river has a character of its own. I was in the Ministry of Mines in Delhi when I retired, so we mine minerals from the sea also. So in Namibia, from where we got our cheetahs, in Namibia they mine diamonds from the sea. So much of diamonds are inside it. This is a mineral, a very rich mineral from 6,000 meters below the sea, from under the sea. I went on the ship and we mined this. So this is also a precious thing for you. You wouldn't have seen anything even 10 feet under the water. This is from 6,000. I went to an island called Papua New Guinea. You've heard of Papua New Guinea? Okay, Papua New Guinea till 200 years ago had cannibals. People who were not civilized enough, and they didn't eat each other, but they ate others. This is their currency, the tribal's currency. I went to that island and they're all a little better than cannibals now, and they said this is what they use for buying it. It's the most beautiful island in the world. There are no animals there, not even a monkey, not even anything. Full of butterflies, bird of paradise, birds and butterflies, and it's the most beautiful island on earth. And the biggest animal they have is a little big rodent, like a bandicoot. That's the biggest animal they have. Somebody brought to show them a cow from New Zealand. They said, you can start dairy. The people ran away because they had never seen a cow. It was too big for them. Now, I want to talk to you a bit about sanitation. Why do you think toilets fail? Because there's no water. 90% of the time, that's what you think. What is key to all sanitation as we know it now is water. And what is key to the failure of most toilets as we know it now is also water. Either too much of it or too little of it. Now, I am talking in terms of a waterless sanitation without the use of water, which is actually as close to nature as possible. Nature in the human body, or almost all life form, excretes liquid separately and solid separately, right? The liquid goes into the soil, urine is urea. It is a sterilized material coming out of your kidney. When you collect urine for your sample or anything, no smell, nothing. It is only when the urine comes out and is exposed to air and water that ammonia is released and you get the smell. If urine is collected in a container, not exposed to water or to anything, it's perfectly fine. You take your sample water and give it in the lab, you have no problem dealing with it, right? So all this is because of the fact that the urine was not allowed to go back to nature the way it was intended to. Okay. Second thing is the fecal content, the solid matter which comes out of your body. That is 80% moisture and 20% matter. If you take out the 80% moisture, 20% matter can easily be dealt with, isn't it? So, in the open, what happens is that the sun dries it up and the rest of the matter gets integrated into the soil. But today we don't do that for many reasons, partly because populations are huge and you go and defecate in the same place, and then all this open defecation, all these problems which are associated with it. But nature intended it like that. All animals are doing that and nothing, we are not having any problems with it. Now, we moved to a water based sanitation for hundreds of historical reasons. In our country, it was also because the waste removal was assigned to some castes. Only bungis were supposed to carry all that, so it became a kind of social evil. If I manage my own shit, there is no problem. But if I ask somebody else to manage my shit, it becomes a problem. No. So all dry toilets in India were converted into water-based toilet system, and all the problems of water-based toilets came into the picture. What happens if you have 80% moisture and you add 300% more moisture? What happens? It becomes a slurry. What happens when a slurry? It develops a gas. It allows more microorganisms to work in it, to breed in it. If you dehydrate it and there is no moisture, all the pathogens die, all the bacteria dies, because there is no moisture, nothing for it to feed on. It will get integrated into the soil. So with water you are compounding the problem. And then when you have a flood, what is it that bothers you? It is the sewage water that comes into your house, not the rainwater. Yeah. It is a headache. If rainwater alone came, you can swim in it, you can even drink it. But today you can't. Why? Because it's all mixed with sewage. And why is that so? Because even if you have 100% pakka stormwater drain and pakka sewage system, when there is a huge rain, the stormwater will flow into the sewage will flow into the stormwater. It cannot but happen. It happens in the best of countries, not only in India, all over the place. And let me tell you one more thing. You heard of waterborne diseases? Waterborne diseases? Fecal contamination, E. coli, isn't it? Jaundice, typhoid, all our infant mortality in our country and all that is because of waterborne diseases. And why did the water get the shit? Because you put the shit into the water. The water didn't get into the shit got into the water. I'm sorry to be said so this thing, but you have to get the point, right? So you put the shit into the water and say, oh shit, E. coli, you put it there, then the water you say. Then you put shit into the water, then you take the water out of the shit and the shit out of the water. You keep on playing these games, you know. It's a cat. There's nobody on earth which is cleaner than a cat. Have you seen a cat go to do his potty? I'll show you a nice movie that I made. He'll make a little hole, sit in it, close it when he comes out. No other animal does it. The dog just tisses and goes away. All of us will shit and go away. This one closes it and goes. And you should see a cat after delivery. You won't believe, she'll clean up everything. She'll clean her kittens, she'll clean up all the mess that has happened. When she walks out of the place, you won't know that such a big thing has happened. She's the most clean, the most wonderful animal for cleanliness. This should be our mascot for cleanliness. Nothing like a cat. As you say cool cat, but I would say clean cat. Here this toilet, this is an old fashioned one, but I'll show you the newer ones also, where when you squat on that pot, can you see that? When you squat on it, the urine comes out of your body separately, it goes separately and goes into the ground. The fecal matter goes into the central portion where we do not use water. We have no water inside. We keep sand, dry leaves, sawdust or ash and put that. When you put that, it dehydrates, it absorbs the moisture. So instead of putting water, you put something which dries up the matter. You allow it to compost for 6 months, and every 6 months you can harvest the fecal matter, which will be excellent black gold. I presented black gold to the collector of Chengalpet. I said this is the best nutrient you can get because it is completely inert, no pathogens, no bacteria, nothing. It is a composting toilet. This is how nature intended to be, and the world is divided into washers and wipers. This is how you do your ablutions. In India we wash, but in many parts of the world they wipe. So the wipers we have no problem, they just put the paper into that, it will be over. But we have to wash. So we have a little space there for the washing alone. Now in a toilet we normally use about 10 liters of water every flush. 10 liters of drinking water you put into the flush every time you flush. But for ablutions you need only 1 liter or half a liter. And it's a small quantity of fecal matter, it can be absorbed by the soil easily. So this is how a composting toilet works. By 2020, Chennai will be bone dry. By 2022, Chennai was floating. What I am saying is, the water didn't go anywhere, it went into the wrong place, and then when you had too much of water, the whole place was. Now, before when we used to go to buy a flat, we'll say, Thanni kadikima, water. Now you say, Thanni nikuma. So I'm just giving you that an example just to show it's not about that water has disappeared. Here is a wonder thing called azolla. It took us 6 months to learn how to grow it. But once this is grown, this can be eaten by human beings, it can be fed to fish, it can be fed to cattle, it can be fed to poultry. The products, the milk becomes richer, the poultry eggs, yolks become more yellow. It's a highly protein food. It's a simple thing, it's also a livelihood opportunity. Women can grow this in their homes, sell it, you can dry it, make powder of it and use it, or use it as it is. These are all different ecosystems. Here you have the pond ecosystem, the freshwater ecosystem, the estuarine ecosystem, the mangrove ecosystem. It's in Tamil and English, the type of birds, insects, reptiles, everything that is found in a single pond. So when you destroy a pond or put a bridge across something else, so much of this biodiversity you may be losing. See, this is what the World Health Organization says about reverse osmosis water. It is unhealthy and not good for you. You can ask questions, I'll tell you. A simple water filter like that, using charcoal, sand and pebbles, is the best water filter that you can have. You can have other simpler systems also. I personally don't even do this. I don't have AquaGuard, I don't have RO. I just take the water, boil it and drink it. That is the best thing that you can have. This is another thing which you need to know. The water purification industry feeds on your paranoia that water is dirty, dirty, dirty. I always ask the question, can we do something about not making the water dirty instead of making it dirty and then purifying it? 1. 2, in your RO system, if 25% of it is output water, 75% is reject, isn't it? And what is that reject? It's a concentration of brine. It's a concentration of all the so-called bad things in the water which it took out. 75% water is getting rejected. 25% only you are using. And where is all that reject going? Back into the soil or back into the environment to pollute the water further. So who is in business? The RO manufacturer. You and I will die. That fellow will live. What I am saying is, this whole industry of using celebrities and everything and feeding on your paranoia that water is bad. The most safest water is surface water coming by the rain. The safest water on earth is the rainwater. If you can collect rainwater, people like Deepesh and others, I am going to have the system where I will collect rainwater and drink only rainwater, untreated rainwater. Nothing is as good as that. Now water is divided into good water, grey water and black water. Black water is the toilet, the toilet, the latrine water, shit water. Grey water is other wash water. Now another thing that all of you can think of is, if you can use the grey water, at least reuse the grey water. Now your drinking and cooking needs is only 10 liters. But about 40 to 50 liters of water go in washing. Clothes and your house and your car and everything. All that is not contaminated with shit. So it can be easily recycled. That water you can use for toilet flushing. Instead of putting drinking water into toilet. You can use it for your garden, you can use it for 100 things. Toilet water is again a small quantity. That is the black water. If that alone goes into the sewage system, we can increase the capacity of our sewage systems. We don't need to carry all the water that you use. You take all that water, put it along with the shit water, then everything is shitty water. You keep the shit water at least separate. First you try not to put water into the shit, okay? All religion says what? Water is a purifying agent. You go to a temple, talikana. You go to a church, baptism is done with water. You go to a mosque, you wash, you purify yourself with water. If you put shit into it, how will it be pure? How is a good human, if you are a good practicing any religion, you will not contaminate the water which purifies you. This is part of biomedical waste. It's your sanitary pads, your diapers, hospital stuff, bandages, syringes, all that is biomedical waste, which as of now, we have no option but to burn it. There is nothing else we can do it because it's too toxic, it is too dangerous. But as far as menstrual waste is concerned, there is much more that we can do ourselves. The first thing is to see whether we can use reusable pads. If we can, that was the position in the past where we use reusable pads or cups or something where the need for sanitary pads as we know it now is not there. Today sanitary pad disposal is a huge problem because it doesn't degrade. One thing. Second thing, Johnson & Johnson, a famous company, has been taken to court and the litigants who took them to court have won the case that the products that they were selling for women's intimate health needs caused cervical cancer. It was also because they put a lot of kind of chemicals for increasing the absorption, for doing many things which they think is a very nice thing, nice smell, whatever. You know, masking, it's only masking, it's not doing anything else. But they have linked it directly to the cause of cervical cancer. So it is very important that menstrual hygiene is a big part because first thing is hygiene. The need to keep yourselves very, very clean, very, very safe, very, very dry so that bacteria and other things don't multiply. See, large number of people in rural areas, I was promoting menstrual pads at an earlier time. Then I found, they throw menstrual pads all over the village and dogs are taking it and running around. Then it is such a horrible thing to happen. So the safe disposal of menstrual pads is a problem. Two, menstrual pads, because of the obscene competition between these multinational companies, are putting the most toxic medicines and chemicals to improve their salability in terms of absorption and things like that. They feed on all your fears. You can use the same pad for 10 hours instead of changing it once in 2 hours because it will absorb more. And then they will play all these games with you. Thin one for one day and thick one for another day. But the best thing is whether we can use a reusable one. That was what we use. We can use old cloth, many ways in which we can just wash it and use it again. Wash it, we have plenty of sunlight. You sun dry it, that is the best disinfectant you can have. You don't need any other disinfection. Sun dried nicely in the hot sun and reuse it is the best thing. Or cups. Now cups are available, they are reusable, they are much better than using sanitary pads. So we have to move in that direction.